the evidence is that Ellen White's first vision, it was for Adventism, it's for God's people, it's for everyone. But primarily, one of the primary reasons of that vision was for God's man of the hour. Who was God's man of the hour in that history? William Miller. Okay, after October 22nd, 1844, the Millerites were scattered by the great disappointment spiritually. There was very few that continued on into that experience. But the leader of that movement, William Miller, began to lose his way. And they had some Sabbath conferences, some conferences, not Sabbath conferences, after 1844. And William Miller determined, he was in agreement with the group that determined that the experience of the midnight cry in the summer of 1844 was not valid. And William Miller had an understanding of what the midnight cry was long before the midnight cry arrived, based upon the parable of the 10 virgins. And when Samuel Snow brought the message of the midnight cry at the Exeter camp meeting in August of 1844, the very last Millerite to accept Samuel Snow's understanding of the midnight cry was William Miller. He had held to an understanding of what the midnight cry represented in the parable of the 10 virgins that he would not let go of until just like 2 weeks before October 22nd, 1844. And then he wrote, Joshua Himes, I believe, but he wrote, one of the pioneers, saying that he finally sees the midnight cry, glory to God, and he was praising the Lord for it. So everybody now is on board with the message that the Lord is going to return on October 22nd, 1844, the midnight cry message. And then you had the disappointment, then you had the spiritual scattering, and then they have this conference, and William Miller and his cohorts determined to go back to the original teaching of the midnight cry. And in December of 1844, a couple months later, Ellen White receives her first vision. And in her first vision, she talks about those who deny the midnight cry, the light that was set up behind them on the path, and what happens to them if they deny the midnight cry. They fall off the path to the wicked world below. So this is for all of Adventism, but primarily this was the Lord calling to William Miller, saying, don't reject the midnight cry. Okay, now here, what does this have to do with Exodus 30?